Hello lovely people and welcome to the recap of a match I played yesterday against a higher rated player. Our team was decidedly outrated. I was board 2. Going into this game I was rated 1581 and my opponent was rated 1836. And I'll show you the game. I'm playing black. My opponent starts with knight to f3. I played, not seeing this, I don't think I've seen this first move over the board before. I'm sure I've seen it in like online games. Wasn't sure what to do, so decided just to start by playing d5. Can't play e5 because I'd lose my pawn, and I kind of want to just play normally, solidly. They carry on with g3, looking to fianchetto the light squared bishop, and I played knight to c6. Again, just getting on with development, opposing that other knight so it can't jump into the center, and sort of not developing any of my king side just yet. But one of the points of knight c6 is that I can play e5 next, or at least I can play it without any more prep work. So bishop to g2 and knight f6. They castle. Now this is the King's Indian attack, and this position's been seen a bunch of times in Masters games. I haven't looked into what the best ideas are. I don't really know how to do that. Like, I'm not sure. Some people use the engine, some people use Masters games, and I haven't really got a solid way of like looking at an opening that I've played and deciding, okay, this is how I want to play it in the future. I mean, I'm going to show you my first mistake in a few moves on move 7. And so obviously, if I played this again, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I'm just going to try and understand the positions that I found myself in. So I went bishop to g4, developing before I pushed the pawn because I wasn't sure whether I'd want to go e5 or e6. So they played d3, and I do decide now to play e5, thinking that if they pushed, then I can push myself. Not sure what the best ideas are here. I don't know actually if they were going to push. I actually can't remember whether I was thinking of, I think I was just thinking of taking, sorry. So they push, I take, and I can now take this. Yeah, so that was they can't go here. But that's not really relevant. That's not because I've played this move. So, okay, so they played knight b to d2. And it was at this point where I noticed, okay, c4 is being prepared with that move because the knight defends the c4 square. And I didn't like the idea of just allowing that to happen. Now, I played in a way that wasn't accurate, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I thought of just moving my queen to d7, and I think I probably should have done that in the game. Like, the idea is if I put the queen to d7, I'm preparing to trade the light squared bishop, and white probably wants to keep their light squared bishop because they've made light squared weaknesses around their king. They can play c4, but I'm thinking I can just go ahead and play bishop to h3. And if they take and take and take, I think I'm doing okay here. Obviously, I've got one pawn in the center and my opponent has 2, but I have their light squared bishop, so I'm pretty happy with that. But in the game, instead, I played bishop to c5, and c4 did happen as expected, and I pushed. Now, I have a blind spot for certain moves. Now, this is attacking the knight, and in my head, they can move the knight, or they can take this pawn. And if they move the knight, say, let's go here. Then I was thinking I would push. And again, they've got a knight that's being attacked and a pawn that's being attacked. So they can't just push because, oh, they could just push, but then I take a knight with check and I'm attacking another piece and I can get this piece out of the way. Yeah, so they wouldn't do that. And I thought they could just take, but then takes. But I've got a blind spot, so I just didn't see takes, which is what they played in the game. Now, that's sort of an obvious move. Before we just look at that, obviously, what could I have done that's not this push? Maybe just should have castled. And then if c takes d, knight takes. In this position, I didn't like losing my central pawn, basically. Same as what I said before. Like, I've got one central pawn versus their two. I've still got both bishops, which is nice, and I probably should have played this in the game. So yeah, just missing this idea completely. So they take, and I'm pretty much forced to take here, so I do. And they take back with the e pawn. So now I've got two hanging pieces. I'm up a piece, but I'm down 2 pawns. So I considered knight takes, but then I'm down a bishop, and I have an open board, a relatively open board, and I have only one bishop. They have the bishop pair. So I felt like I didn't like playing like that. I wanted to keep my bishop pair if possible. And so I suppose the other options are to, let's go back here. So my other options are to just retreat with the bishop, in which case they'd have taken my pawn, take back. Now, in the game, I was also considering this in a slightly different variation, but they take back, I take back, sorry, and they might, oh, they can't push now, but that's the whole point. So in this position, I've got the bishop pair, but my bishop is a little bit limited. Like it's definitely a kingside bishop now. It can't come back to do anything over here. And so wasn't that keen on that. What else do we have? Could also come back with the bishop. So if takes and takes, now we've got this bishop on the nice long diagonal, which is decent. It means that, again, they don't really want to push this because I don't think white wants to trade their light squared bishops at this point. In the game, I played bishop f5, keeping an eye on that, and when they take, then I've got 2 pieces on that pawn. They take, and so I considered playing b6 at this point. I've got a bishop and queen on this. I can push my queen to attack this pawn. I know it can be defended, but I've also got a light squared bishop and a knight to do stuff with. But they can give a check. I can block, and then they have this knight move. So I didn't like this. I just felt like, actually, I'm not able to. So they're, with that knight move, they're blocking. Like, you think, oh, brilliant, I've got 2 pieces on this. They can't defend it, but they can block one of the pieces. And if I took that knight, they'd just be able to sort out their pawn structure, and they're just completely dominating. So, and it also unleashes a defender. So yeah, not good, I don't think. So that check is really crucial. My uncastled king provides enough of an impetus for me to not think I can just chase down these 2. Also, if I blocked with this bishop, then the knight move still is a problem, I think. I don't see how I'm doing well here. I've got to like defend. Maybe I could do this, but then this. Yeah, I don't think I can easily win back either of these pawns in that way. So I played b takes c, and then they chased away my bishop. It's undefended, so I can't even just leave it there. I retreated, and then rook e1 check. I planned to move my bishop in front of the king to block. And now a crucial moment. So they've unleashed an attacker which would fork my king and rook. And also they're threatening to attack my pinned bishop that can't move out the way of the king. Disaster. I only have one move, I think, just castles. And here, they... Actually, no, what am I saying? So it wasn't here. So I think they thought of this as the best move. I mean, obviously they thought it was the best move, but I think instead of pushing this pawn, the best move is actually to pile up on that pinned bishop, because I can't move it. It's pinned to the king properly. And if I try to defend it, then white can just take. And I have to ruin my pawn structure, otherwise I lose my queen. So I've got even worse pawn structure. This is just horrendous. And my king's still not castled, and even when it is, this diagonal's weak. So my king's going to be pretty airy. But mostly just a horrendous pawn structure in general for black. So white missed a trick there, but this is a decent move as well, because I think it was just too many threats. It just felt like there was so much happening that it was just very tempting to play that. And I castle, they take, move out the way, and they bring out their final piece, or their final minor piece. Rooks are almost connected. They're basically connected. They have a queen in the middle, but that's all right. And I attack that bishop. Now, I was pretty keen on all this. I was like, this is great. This light squared bishop, I'm going to try and... They're going to try and keep that. So probably they're going to come back here or here. And then I can do some stuff like trying to trade it off like before. If they go here, then I can come here, that sort of stuff. But they put the bishop here, and I was surprised that they were allowing me to take it with a knight. If I took, then I'd be in a situation where my queen is... I don't want to trade queens because I'm down 2 pawns, so I'd have to move my queen out of the way. But yeah, very tempted to just take that bishop straight away, but decided to attack the queen first. And if they had pushed, I was just planning to come here, and I felt like this this diagonal. I don't know if I think I would have actually taken first, so taken here with check first, take back, and then done this. And I don't think it's better for black, but yeah, I think it's there's at least a lot of weakness around the king here, and I've got an unopposed, actually no, not unopposed just yet, but like soon to be unopposed light squared bishop, because all these squares are covered. But in the game, when I did this, they put their queen on c2. There was a point, I can't remember actually exactly when it was, but let's say here. I think it was at this point when they first moved their bishop out. I was thinking of taking, and if they take with their queen, I think I win a piece. Their queen's attacked. I've just taken a piece. I think they've got to get out of the way, and then I can just retreat with my bishop. But in that position, unfortunately, if I take the knight, then they can just take back with the pawn, and like I don't want to trade my light squared bishop for a knight really, just to double their pawns, and I think it's almost certain that they would have noticed. So I couldn't just play hope chess and just try and take their stuff, hoping to win a piece, because they would have just taken with the pawn, opened up their rook as well, and then yeah, it's not good enough to trade the light squared bishop when there's all these light squared weaknesses which I can try and make use of. Now I'm the one without a light squared bishop, they're the one with one. I'm down 2 pawns. It's not good enough. But I was trying to make that work, and I couldn't make it work. So queen c2. So I was thinking when analysing this, is there a way, rather than, so on the next move I did take the bishop, but is there a way to try and keep more pieces on the board, to try and like drum up some more complication, keep as many pieces on the board to try and make it as complex as possible, So like, let's say, for example, knight d5. So I'm trying to think of like, okay, rather than just taking, I can push a piece forward. They aren't really that scared of this because they can just take, and let's probably do this so that I can bring this rook over, or one of these rooks to attack the queen. They're not going to take, I don't think, because now I'm controlling these. They can't push the bishop out the way, so they're not going to do that. And if I did that, then I could at some point, let's say they just do this, then now they're forced, I think, to do this. Are they forced? It feels like they're forced. I'm attacking, I'm threatening checkmate in 1, and the king has no moves. So yeah, I think they're forced to do this, in which case I'm doing much better than I was doing in the game. So potentially there's something here, or at least this could be a way to go, to keep pieces on the board and keep a knight, especially because I ended up with these pieces on the board, and I was down this knight and this bishop. Well, not down, but I traded these pieces. So I feel like I was a bit stuck in the end, and we'll see how that goes. I took the bishop. They take back with the pawn, obviously. And then I played rook f to e8. Putting pressure on that pawn, potentially adding an attacker in a minute. I've got control of this square, so it may have been useful to put a rook on there earlier. But I think I would have had to double up to get that to work. So they put their knight to d2, and so I haven't mentioned this. We're playing a 60-minute game. So both of us started with 60 minutes on our clocks, and there was no increment, which means normally every time you make a move on a slower game like this, where there's like an hour on your clock to begin with, every time you make a move, there's usually like some time added on, probably 30 seconds added on every time you make a move. So this is a game with no time added on whenever, at any point. Sometimes you have, for the first 40 moves, there's no time added on, and then there's a few seconds added on after move 40. This game, nothing. You just start with 60 minutes on your clock. If it's your turn to make a move, your time goes down, and that's it. You just get to the end of the game. So there were certain moves where I was like, okay, I need to try and keep up. And I was basically matching him on the time. And I know that's not the exact point to just exactly match the other player, but with no increment, I was very nervous about going down on time and then finding myself in an okay position, but with like only 10 minutes left versus their 30 or something like that. I think that would have been a massive issue with no increment. So I very quickly played bishop to a5. With this knight move, they're not only defending this pawn, but they're also defending the f3 square. So I was quite keen to nullify that knight, or at least just put pressure on it. It can't move just yet. Actually, it can. So I think it could have just attacked my bishop and queen, which I didn't see. So I didn't see this move at all. Yes, I can now take the rook, but I'm not going to because I'd lose my queen. And it's a fork of these two pieces. This one's the bishop's undefended, so really I have to like defend it, and then I'm now just, I don't want to be losing. I don't want to be trading pieces like that. Now my queen's offside. I suppose I'm able to come over here and potentially create threats, but realistically, I don't want to be trading pieces like that. This is a very weak pawn. They're able to come over. This bishop was doing well to defend it. Okay, so they had that move, which I don't think they noticed. So they get their rook onto the c file, their a rook, and I then play queen to g6. My idea is to sort of come in and threaten checkmate, or even induce further weaknesses. I was wondering whether this bishop move could have been an idea, given what happened in the game. This pawn was pushed and I had to move up with the queen. So we'll see that in a second. But yeah, given that happened in the game, maybe the bishop to h3. But then, so if a3, for example, the queen could come to g6. But I don't really think this actually works. This is like a pipe dream because they can just play f3 at any point. It's defended. I haven't got rid of that knight. Even if I do get rid of it, then what am I going to do? Come here? Like, it's just too slow. They can do all sorts to defend that pawn. I don't have any way of getting in. Yeah, I just don't think that works. And if instead I come back with the bishop, then bishop takes bishop, CB. And I was thinking, okay, maybe if I come here with the rook, this bishop protects it, so the queen's probably not going to take because it's not even check, because this rook's here. I could come up across with this rook, in with this queen. I just don't think I think this is like not enough. I don't think this is a good plan for black. Okay, so in the game, they played h4, so the last move was me bringing my queen over, and then they play h4, and I played rook b to d8, putting more pressure on the knight, slightly improving the rook, I think. They do play a3 now, threatening to play b4, so I don't want to come back. I don't want this knight really to have this home defending f3, so I took. They take back with the bishop, and now I play bishop f3. Giving my queen a square, threatening stuff, or even that stuff, and putting more pressure on this pawn. They play e5, expected, and I didn't want the queen trade, so I went to g4 with my queen straight away. I think this is forced. I suppose this is an undefended bishop, so they could just attack that, because this checkmating idea doesn't work if they take my bishop. So, but yeah, I think otherwise you just have to play this move, because now I can't come to h3 with my queen. I played c6. I'm quite happy with c6. This battery is now nullified because the bishop defends the pawn. They took advantage of that, attacked the rook. Now this is the crucial point in the game where there's a move which I did see, but I didn't see it in enough detail or with enough understanding. But I'm pretty happy I saw the idea vaguely, and it doesn't completely equalize, but it basically puts white in a position where unless they spot the idea, then if they don't spot the idea, then black can equalize, and then it still has, I think, quite good attacking potential. So what doesn't work? Well, what's happening here is the rook's being attacked, and it could be reasonably easy to just play rook d5, attacking the bishop, but missing that now this pawn's undefended. And again, it might be nice to think, but attacks the queen, double attack on the rook. If you take the rook, lose the queen, take the rook, up a queen for a rook here. This is nice. Or, I don't know, maybe have to defend like this, in which case might look quite scary, but no, it's still pretty good for white. But actually, even better for white here is taking the rook with a checkmate in 2. So that doesn't work. So yeah, can't do rook to d5. I was thinking potentially just sacrificing the rook and saying, okay, have the whole rook, but now I've got this unstoppable threat. But the problem is this bishop defends that unstoppable threat, so it's not unstoppable at all, which is very sad. But so say if the queen went here, then we give a check. If the bishop wasn't here, this doesn't work because of checkmate, and this doesn't work because of checkmate. So it's very unfortunate that this bishop also covers the pawn on h4. And so we're back here. Say, I was thinking also just like, okay, keep the rooks reasonably close with the idea of just coming over and doubling up, maybe pushing. That could have worked. I suppose it's a little bit cramped. Like this bishop now controls this square for a long time, and now it's similar. It's sort of interesting that we've got two bishops controlling the d1 and d8 squares respectively. But so in the game I didn't play this move, but this is the best move. So I saw this move, but then I thought, okay, well, they can just attack that rook, and if I defend, they can just take the pawn, and this rook has to move again. Now, the point of that move is not just I didn't just put it here. I wasn't just thinking of putting it here for nothing. I thought, okay, I could have this rook here, so that at some point, if they, I don't know, say if they did nothing, then I can take this pawn. Now, I didn't, or say if they pushed, say if they pushed, I can give a check. And I was just happy to see this. Like, it was a bit of a unlikely scenario, but if they took, then I would win the game. But there's a king move, so I don't win the game. But like I'm like, my visualization isn't good enough, so I thought, okay, I could actually take this pawn with the queen, sacrifice the queen, and win. Because if they come here, that's checkmate. Now I'm just missing like a basic, something quite basic. But I think I'm just quite happy to be seeing these ideas, even if they're not quite working in the positions. I'm missing some basic stuff because I can iron out that stuff. But the fact that I'm not blind to some of these sacrificial ideas is an improvement to what I was playing before. But I did see this rook move, because if you can take and then again you've got this checkmate, for example, or even checkmate in 2 again. This whole like this structure in front of the king can't be broken down because these two pieces are just too powerful. So I had seen I could take this pawn, but I think my calculation, my visualization isn't good enough. So I was like, oh no, but now my rook's attacked. So yeah, I missed the idea of now I can actually take it. So now this is defended. You can't take here because you get checkmated. And if they do this, then the same idea, like this is now defended twice, and you can, as white, just do something. As black, sorry, you can just do something else, like make some room for your king, or I don't know what you do here. Maybe like bring the rook up like before, but now the bishop isn't here. But if they come back here, then they've defended that pawn. But then you can do something like just double up, and now this, because this bishop is no longer here, you have that square for your rook. Then this happens, etc. So that was a real interesting point. Like I wish I had sat with this a little bit longer and noticed actually it works straight away. Like you don't have to do anything. There's no prep work involved. If the queen attacks the rook, I can take it. And I'm not sure. Like I'm playing against someone much better than me, so I think they have a decent chance of seeing that, because it's an odd move. Otherwise, it's not crazy because I need to get the way out of the way with the rook. I think if I wasn't prompted by this bishop, this move would be more like raise alarm bells for my opponent. Okay, so in the game, this is when things started to like. I started to lose my way a bit, really. So I saw that I could attack the bishop on the next move, but it was just too sort of simple. The threats I was making were too simple, and they weren't in keeping with the position. Like I shouldn't just be chasing pieces, which is what I ended up doing. So they attack the bishop, and I was thinking always got this move because there's no pawn move that can attack it, and there's no bishop that can attack it. So yeah, this should just be a very, very strong bishop, and I should have probably done it straight away. But instead, I attacked the bishop thinking, okay, they can either hem in the bishop, which they're never going to do, and then I can come back, and this still defends this, and if here, then this, and they can't push really because they'll just lose that I just take this, so they're not going to do that. And so they're not going to do that. And then I thought, okay, well, they're probably going to have to move their bishop somewhere. But they don't have to do either of those things. So I'm just blind to the idea of, I'm not creative enough in thinking, okay, white doesn't have to directly respond to this. They can make a threat to themselves, improve one of their pieces, and let me take that bishop. Because it puts my rook really offside. I'm like a move out of the way. But also, I'll be trading a very, very good bishop for a not so good bishop, or not as good as this bishop. So, okay, didn't spot that queen move. That's a shame. And I realize I can attack the queen. Can't take now because they lose your queen. And that would be very good for black. So, but they can just jump out of the way. I was pretty happy to see this next move. There was a moment where I thought, I blundered. Oh no, they can actually just still take the bishop. And if I then take the rook, then they get the rook back. But I missed the final move, which is for me to also get the rook because they've now undefended their rook. So happy to spot this rook move. They just took it. I took with the bishop, and now they take this pawn. Attacking my rook, they're now up 3 pawns, and yeah, basically just falling apart. And I thought I'm at least getting a tempo on the queen, but they spotted a very nice move saying, have my queen, your back rank is very weak, and your king is trapped behind your own pawns. You don't have any luft. So if I took, then it would be mate in 1. In this position, they're also threatening to, so say if I attack this rook, they can actually give a check. I have to take, and then they can give another check, and we trade down to this situation. They're 3 pawns up, and all my all the benefits I have of having of white having light squared weaknesses just completely evaporate, I think. So I spotted that in the game. I decided, okay, there's no way if I do this, it has the same flavor to it, unfortunately. So yeah, this is the problem. So they can just fork and then add another attacker to this bishop. And I think the same. So in this position, I can't go here because they just take the queen. Can't go there for what we just saw. Can't stay here for the reason I just showed. That's obviously unavailable. And the queen takes. So I thought, okay, the only thing I can do realistically is just go back to f8 with the rook, which is a very sad move to make. And I'm pretty resigned to the fact that I've squandered any fighting chance I had. They played the nice clinical move, queen to d7. Attacks my queen, double attack on the bishop. Nothing I can do here, so I just attack the rook. They take, which I expected. I take back, and then they just offer the trade of rooks. I probably should have just traded rooks. I pushed here, but if I trade rooks, then I don't want to do that. If I trade rooks and they take back, then let's say they come to g2 with the king. At least I've got this tempo on the bishop, and that's something I didn't have in the game, because in the game I pushed and they took, and now I don't want to. Well, it doesn't really matter if I wait, I suppose. At this point, I'm pretty much lost. So I wasn't playing, and I was quite low on time, so I wasn't playing as accurately or with as much hope as I had before. And it didn't seem like there was much I could do. I was trying to hold on the best I could, given the low time. Probably down to I think I was under 5 minutes at this point. And yeah, 5 minutes without time added on. So I was making moves. Okay, so king comes up. Now here I probably should have, I pushed, but it just gives white an extra move with the king, and they're trying their best to get down here, so I shouldn't have allowed that. Or I thought I was just fixing pawns in place, stopping this move, so I went with here in a second. Because even now, this creates a passed pawn, so I'm basically fixing these pawns with these two, which is pretty good, but at the same time it allows the king in. So maybe I should have instead gone d7 with my king, d4, then c6, E takes F, G takes F, F3. Still winning for white, but maybe just a better king position for black. Maybe something better than what happened in the game. But it's all winning. It's also variations of lost for black, I think, here. So king c5, and now I'm pushing my pawn to a position where it can be defended by a bishop. King comes over, bishop defends, king really infiltrating now, and I'm just trying to find a way, but they just block that as well, obviously. Give a check, and they're doing a great job of just controlling my king. I'm trying to stop this move, but obviously they can just bypass the bishop here. Bishop to c3, and I'm just finding a better position for my bishop to stop these pawns. I shouldn't have actually, looking at it now, like these pawns already stopped those pawns basically. So there's no point them doing this because it's not going to lead to anything. Just a passed pawn. Like obviously they can stop that as well, but I don't think I really needed to do this with the bishop. But I did anyway, and then they push. I get into position with my bishop. They push again, and I'm just waiting moves. And I thought if I take and take, it's basically the same thing. So I just thought I would take the opportunity to come in, like try and defend with my king. They push, obviously, and which I did expect, but I was like, okay, I don't know if there's anything better for me to do here. Try and defend, but I just give the king even more room to work and gets deeper into my position. Now I'm just, yeah, I mean, I know, it's completely dead. It's annoying even to look at it. Okay, so we've got king c8, and yeah, I mean, this is just obviously lost. They take a pawn. I try and come over to try and block this, and as soon as they play b7, I resigned. Two interesting moments, specifically here, when I didn't see this move. Finding a way of not just being so focused on, okay, if I'm making a threat, they have to react to that threat. No, they can make their own threat, because even if I'm now attacking another piece, they can just take back and be attacking two of my pieces. So finding a way of like seeing those, and then also this is the key moment in the game where I should have sat with this idea. I say brilliant. I think with the idea of taking a pawn with a rook that can then be captured, that's pretty brilliant. If I'd have actually seen that clearly enough that they can do that and I can still take, that would have been nice. I think in the game I was a little bit like, at this point when I moved the bishop over, I thought I'm doing quite well here. I've got a lot of pressure. I've got pressure here. This pinning the knight is nice. This rook's in an open file. This rook's bearing down on a pawn that isn't yet defended by another pawn. If they push it, I've got this diagonal to play with. So I felt like it felt good in the game. Like it felt like, okay, even though I'm down 2 pawns, I've got compensation for those 2 pawns. So I was pretty happy with my play, and like I was happy even just when I saw, let's get to that point again. So when I saw this rook to d4 idea, obviously I was confused with this idea, and confused that I could just play this straight away even with this move. I was confused with this one because, let's say they did this, because this pawn moving gives the king an escape square, like I showed before. But I'm just happy that I'm seeing those, because they're like puzzle kind of positions where you maybe are down material, or you're sacrificing something, but it works. In this case, it doesn't work, but it can work. I'm happy that I'm seeing those a little bit more readily than normally in a game. So I need to just keep going, keep practicing puzzles, keep trying to find those positions. All right, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you did and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and giving a comment or a like to the video. That would be very helpful. And if you have any comments that you think I missed something in the game, I'd like to know that as well, or any just general advice. So yeah, I hope you're well. I will chat to you soon. Goodbye.